On April 30th, 1789. April 23rd, 1789, a nation held its breath. The first president, not a king, not a general, but a man who chose to lead, and a country that chose to follow. 1787, Philadelphia. A dozen men in powdered wigs argued over paper. They wrote a plan for a nation, fragile, unfinished. No monarch, no army, just a dream. 13 states, 13 laws, 13 enemies. The war was over, but trust was not. Some called for a king, others feared chaos. The nation stood on a knife's edge. 40,000 dead, a continent in debt. The Articles of Confederation, weak. The Congress, powerless. Something had to change. The Constitution, not a weapon, a document, ink on parchment, but it carried the weight of war, of blood, of a people fighting for something bigger than themselves. Farmers in Virginia, merchants in Boston, they argued in town halls, they demanded representation. They wanted a government that served, not ruled. The Electoral College, the separation of powers. A president, not a monarch. The blueprint was ready. Now came the question, who would lead? April 30, 1789, New York. A crowd of 5,000. The first president, not a general, not a king, but a man who had refused power twice before. They had voted for him, not because he was perfect, but because he was steady. A man who had seen war, who had seen chaos, who had chosen to build instead of destroy. He wore a simple suit, no sword, no crown, just a man with a plan and a promise to serve, to unite, to make this fragile experiment work. He raised his hand. The oath was spoken. I do solemnly swear. The first president, the first moment, the first test of a new system. The room was silent. Then, applause. Not for a king, not for a general, for a man who had chosen to lead, and a nation that had chosen to follow. He stepped forward. The first president, the first step, a nation watching, a world waiting. The experiment had begun. Washington left no throne, no titles, just 2 terms and a legacy. He set the rules. He stepped down. He proved that power could be shared, not seized. He wrote letters. He made decisions. He showed that a president could be a servant, not a ruler. His choices shaped the office for generations. The flag, not a symbol of conquest, of unity, of a people who had chosen freedom over tyranny. Washington's legacy lived in every star, every stripe. Today the hall is quiet, but the echoes remain. The first president, the first test, the first choice. A nation still learning from that moment. Protesters still gather, still argue, still demand. Washington's experiment, not perfect, but alive. A system that bends, but doesn't break. The statue stands. The story lives. A man who refused power. A nation that chose freedom. The first step, but not the last. What did this moment mean for the future? Explore more and see how history still shapes our world today.